United States government imposes new sanctions on Venezuela's judicial power. Russian foreign minister met his Iranian counterpart to address the joint comprehensive plan on nuclear deal. Tensions escalated at the Nigerian National Assembly. From the headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Laura Palmero. United States government has imposed new sanctions on Venezuela's judicial power this Tuesday, while reinforcing unilateral coercive sanctions against the government of President Nicolas Maduro. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo accused Venezuela Supreme Court President Michael Moreno of corruption for accepting alleged bribes given by Venezuelan executive branch in order to gain influence on decisions made by the judiciary. Pompeo highlighted that Moreno has been added to the specially designated Venezuelan citizen list, which unlawfully targets several Venezuelan officials in the government of President Maduro. In Chile, hundreds of indigenous people protested this Tuesday in solidarity with Mapuche political prisoners. The protest departed from the Weekend Square in the province of Malleco and moved to the jail of the city of Angol. The protesters demanded freedom for the 27 Mapuche political prisoners who have been on a hunger strike for 79 days. The participants claimed the government of Sebastián Piñera to attend justice for the murdered social leaders and respect for their ancestral territories. Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez reported about the COVID-19 situation in Venezuela in the last 24 hours. Vice President Rodriguez informed there were 440 new COVID-19 cases, 412 were infected for communitarian transmission, and 28 are imported cases. In total, the country has registered 12,774 COVID-19 cases. 6,983 patients have recovered so far. Rodriguez also reported 4 new deaths for a death toll of 120. On Tuesday, Brazil will begin advanced clinical testing of a Chinese-made vaccine against the new coronavirus, issuing the first doses to around 900 volunteers. The coronavirus vaccine developed by the private Chinese pharmaceutical firm Sinovac is the third in the world to enter phase 3 trials, or large-scale testing on humans, the last step before regulatory approval. The vaccine will be administered to doctors and other health workers who volunteer for programs across 6 states in Brazil, one of the hardest hit countries by the pandemic. The Pan American Health Organization is worried about the failure of the countries of the Americas to flatten the COVID-19 growth curve.
As of July 20th, there has been 7.7 million cases and more than 311,000 deaths reported in the Americas. The COVID-19 pandemic is showing no signs of slowing down in our region. During the last week, there were almost 900,000 new cases and nearly 22,000 deaths reported in our region. Most of these within Brazil, Mexico, and the United States of America.
The Colombian Senate has held a historic election of its leadership. Senator Griselda Lobo from the Fuerza Alternativa Revolucionaria del Común, FARC, will be the second vice speaker of the legislative body that from now on will share Arturo Char of the Radical Change Party. The senator, known as Sandra Ramirez in her fighting years in the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, People's Army, reached the second vice presidency of the Colombian Senate with 66 votes. Griselda, daughter of farmers who spent 30 of her 54 years in the armed struggle, supported the peace process. Senator Lobo indicated her triumph tonight to the 13,000 reinstated fighters and the 208 peace signatories that were murdered.
Desde aquí vamos a trabajar en defensa de los derechos humanos.
From here, we're going to work in defense of the human rights of the indigenous people, the African American people, and the farmers of our beloved Colombia, in defense of women who today in this pandemic are suffering from the pandemic of silence, from domestic violence, and from work overload. From this vice presidency, we are going to work for the basic income for more than 9 million homes in poverty and vulnerability. And from here, I also call on the national government to stop the killings, because unfortunately, the massacres, the extrajudicial executions, or the wrongly named false positives, the assassination of leaders and of those of us who bet on peace, are happening again.
Cuba welcomed on Monday the 38 health professionals of the Henry Reef Brigade after collaborating in the combat of COVID-19 in the city of Turin in Italy. Our correspondent in Havana, Nayara Tardo, brings us more details about it. On Monday, Cuba welcomed the 38 health professionals of the Henry Reef Brigade who were in Italy supporting this European country in the fight against COVID-19. This group provided health services during 3 months in the city of Turin, where they treated more than 5,200 patients. Their work was recognized with the Order of Merit by the government of Piedmont. Almost 3,600 collaborators left from Cuba when the COVID-19 pandemic began, grouped in 42 brigades of the Henry Reef contingent.
I think that the most important thing is that the courage and solidarity and the humanity of Cuban doctors and nurses was proven in Europe, which was a very difficult field. But from the professional point of view, we knew how to show what we were made of. They were 3 very hard months, practically entering the red zone every day. But we want to thank our government, our revolution for trusting us. They were 38 men who kept Cuba's prestige impeccable, proud of placing the name of Cuban medicine up high in Europe.
According to official data, Cuban health personnel has treated more than 200,700 patients and saved more than 7,400 lives in the 35 countries where they have worked amidst the international health crisis sparked by COVID-19. As Cuba is about to declare victory in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic and the lives of Cubans return to a new normality, the government reiterates its willingness to show solidarity with the countries affected by the virus, in the midst of a strong campaign promoted by Washington with the intentions of discrediting the work of Cuban doctors in the world.
Nayara Tardo, Telesur, La Habana.
Thank you, Nayara. Today, the city of Turin thanked Cuba for the medical aid provided in the confrontation of COVID-19. The city used a giant light message projected on one side of the dome of the most important building in the city. The expression, "Thank you, Cuba," and below the national flag of the Caribbean nation, together with 2 hands united in a form of a heart, shaped the tricolor show. The Mall Antonelliana, one of the symbols of the capital of the Piemonte region, was selected for the initiative promoted by the Agency of Cultural and Economic Exchange with Cuba and the Embassy of the island in Italy, with the sponsorship of the city of Turin and the electric company Iranian. The dome lights in very special occasions, and it's the first time it does it with a foreign flag. And we'll be right back, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. A Johns Hopkins recount showed the U.S. is approaching the 4 million contagion toll and remains the country with the most positive cases in the world. As of Monday, the country had reported almost 4 million confirmed cases and more than 140,000 deaths, with over 5,000 deaths and 10,000 new infections. Florida is the new nation's virus epicenter, along with Texas and Arizona. Nevertheless, Governor Ron DeSantis and other authorities ordered the reopening of schools, which is the reason he's being sued by Florida's Teachers Association. Miami-Dade County Mayor Carlos Jimenez and Education Commissioner Richard Corcoran are being sued as well. Most of the 85 young children in a South Texas county have contracted the novel coronavirus this month amid a surge in the state, a health official said. The county, which is home to more than 300,000 people, is one of the several COVID-19 hotspots in Texas.
Talked about the figure of the 85 infants, and this is a factual number. Very important to highlight all that Q&A. I'm going to try to do a synopsis. That's a factual number. 85 is a total cumulative number, and it's presented in the context of a larger discussion, which is the coronavirus pandemic and how serious it is. And it makes sense to cite this statistics. It illustrates that no one is naturally immune to the virus.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met on Tuesday his Iranian counterpart Mohammad Javad Zarif to address the joint comprehensive plan of action of Iranian nuclear deal and the conflict in Syria.
Our evaluations either totally coincide or are significantly close to one another. We discussed in detail the realization of different aspects of the joint comprehensive plan of action on the Iranian nuclear program. This important deal turned 5 years old recently. The agreement generally guaranteed global stability and security, and we are united in the need to put all our effort in saving it.
Following a meeting with German Foreign Minister on Tuesday, Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis condemned Turkey's plan to send oil and gas research vessels into disputed waters in the eastern Mediterranean, while urging the European Union to take action over escalating diplomatic tensions.
Greece is monitoring all the developments with confidence, assuredness, and absolute readiness. Of course, disputing the sovereign rights of Greece and Cyprus in the end constitutes a dispute of the sovereign rights of Europe. We look forward to the support of our allies, but we should know also that if Turkey continues to move in this direction, the imposition of sanctions by the European Union against Turkey will be the only way forward. It is up to Turkey to choose what relationship it wants to have with Greece, with Cyprus, with Europe. But I think at the moment it seems to be choosing the wrong path.
An armed man carrying explosive has taken around 20 passenger hostages on a bus in the western Ukrainian city of Lutsk, police said on Tuesday. The head of the local police service said shots were heard at the scene, but no injuries have been reported so far. Law enforcement has cordoned off the center of Lutsk, a city in western Ukraine, some 250 miles from the capital, Kiev, and advised residents not to leave their homes or places of work. According to the Deputy Interior Minister Anton Garashenko, the hostage taker made contact with the police and identified himself as Maxim Plokhoy.
I have a deep understanding of what is unfortunately happening. Since now there is a communication with the person who captured the Ukrainian citizens, I cannot talk about it more in details. I think you understand me.
After 4 days and nights of discussions, EU leaders finally agreed on Tuesday on a package to confront the biggest recessions in the bloc's history. The summit in Brussels saw exhausted EU leaders finally agreeing on an unprecedented €1.8 trillion budget on coronavirus recovery. After one of their longest summits ever, to confront the biggest recession in its history, the EU will establish a €750 billion coronavirus fund, partially based on common borrowing, the be sent to loans and grants to the hardest hit countries. The European Council will create a system of conditionality aimed at preventing member states from getting subsidies from the budget and recovery fund if they don't abide by its principles.
The text that has been agreed on the rule of law has improved. It's a very clear in the document, a very clear commitment to the rule of law and a very clear commitment to the protection of the financial interests of the Union. And this is linked, against this background, to the fact that the Commission has proposed an instrument under which, in case of breaches, measures will be adopted. So there's a very clear link, a reference. The adopting or the voting will be by qualified majority voting. And finally, we will also introduce instruments to strengthen the controls of the EU funds. So there is more clarity There is more distinction in the text and a very clear reference, which was important not only to the rule of law, but also to the protection of the financial interests of the Union.
Austrian authorities have decided to reimpose the mandatory use of masks in supermarkets, banks and other public places following fears of a surge in new COVID-19 cases.
We have decided that we will reintroduce mandatory face mask use in supermarkets, banks, post offices, all those areas of everyday life. On the one hand, to protect people who cannot choose whether they want to go there or not, because they have to go there. And secondly, because we know that the mask has a symbolic effect. The more it disappears for our everyday life, the greater the lack of concern.
King Philip and Queen Matilda commemorated Belgium's National Day on the Tuesday, highlighting the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic across the country.
In recent months, we have personally experienced how much we need each other's proximity. The pandemic has caused a high number of victims. Unfortunately, their loved ones have often been unable to say goodbye to them appropriately. It is good that we were able to commemorate them with the entire country this morning. The pandemic is far from over. In particular, let us tell the youth to remain extremely cautious and let us all behave responsibly.
And we have more stories coming up after this very final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization published on Tuesday its Global Forest Resources Assessment Report, noting that over 178 million hectares of forest have been lost since 1990.
First of all, the forest area loss and the deforestation are slowing down, which is a great news. But we are still losing 4.7 million hectares per forest. Most of that loss happens in sub-Saharan Africa and in South America, but also in Southeastern Asia, we still lose about 1 million hectares of forest every year. The second is that the area of forest found within legally established protected areas is increasing.
Tensions escalated at the Nigerian National Assembly this Tuesday after the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, ordered to present documentation on contracts given by the Niger Delta Development Commission. During a public hearing of the House of Representatives committee set to analyze activities and financial spending of the NDDC, Nigerian Minister of the Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, accused members of the National Assembly for being beneficiaries of the most contracts of the Commission. Meanwhile, Minister Akpabio has been called to present such documentations in 48 hours. The NDDC was established in 2000 to develop the oil-rich Niger Delta region.
I will take this matter and this allegation and accusation very serious. And I will give the minister 24 to 48 hours. And clerk, I want you to back this up with a letter from this house. To give the minister 24 to 48 hours to publish the names, the contracts so given, the dates, because obviously these things will be documented. Unveil the companies of the 60% projects that were given to members of the National Assembly, failing which.
In Kenya, the number of infected people continues to rise slowly but steadily, with reports that some hospitals are already operating the full capacity in the capital, Nairobi. Today, the Ministry of Health is reporting 250 deaths from the disease, with total infections standing at just over 14,000. Recently, the government ended a partial lockdown that was aimed at preventing the pandemic from spreading from the cities to the countryside. Now, towns and villages are bracing themselves for a potential spike in the caseload. A hospital doctor in one of Kenya's biggest cities has warned that medical workers will need more support as cases continue to swell.
1,168, the number of confirmed positive cases in the country, and brings our cumulative samples tested to 249,998. From the 397 cases that we are reporting today, 389 are Kenyans and 8 are foreigners. Males comprise 236 and females 161.
The African Union is due to hold a mini-summit to discuss the contagious mega dam Ethiopia is building on the Blue Nile River, which has triggered a major diplomatic standoff with downstream neighbors Egypt and Sudan. On Tuesday, a virtual meeting will be hosted by our chair and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, and leaders from Ethiopia, Egypt and Sudan are expected to take part, as well as officials from the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya and Mali. The Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam has been a source of friction in the Nile River basin ever since Ethiopia broke ground on the giant project in 2011, with multiple rounds of tripartite talks ending in deadlock. In Nepal, landslides and flooding caused by heavy rainfall have blocked the main highway connecting most of the country's national capital, Kathmandu, preventing trucks from bringing in food, fuel and supplies. Police official Rabindra Regmi said that there was several landslides along the Privati highway that either blocked the road or damaged portions of it. As flooded river also damaged a bridge of the highway, and hundreds of the vehicles were stranded on both sides on the route. Since Nepal's monsoon season began last month, landslides, flooding and lightning have killed over 130 people and left 48 others missing. And we have come to the end of this news brief, and you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Laura Palmero. Thank you for watching.